Go through life and a lot of things actually have you trust your gut over time. And this whole podcast that we're doing right now, this Fight to Fly, is what it's truly about.
Not every battle has a success story, but every success story has a battle. Hi, I'm Tia Minzoni, CEO and co-owner of luxury private jet company Stella Jets, a serial entrepreneur, a survivor, and your host of the Fight to Fly show. On Fight to Fly, I sit down with the world's highest achievers who share their incredible stories and lessons they've learned on their own fight to fly. Expect to be inspired, entertained, and motivated to break down the barriers between you and your high-achieving success story. Come back each week for a new episode and be ready to empower yourself to give your dreams wings. Welcome to the Fight to Fly show. Welcome to this week's Fight to Fly show. This week, we're sitting down with Beau Hollingsworth. Beau is a master when it comes to real estate investing, real estate finances, but I met Beau on something else that she does really, really well, which is networking. So her and I met at a David Meltzer event where I've met so many of my great podcast guests and just instantly connected. So she has come down to Texas this week, brought quite a few people with her to join us, and agreed to be on the podcast. So we're super excited to talk to Beau today, hear her story. She has her own Fight to Fly story, and also drop a few seeds on some important information that can help you in your own path, whether it's to entrepreneurialism, to buying a home, or to getting into real estate yourself. So Beau, welcome to the Fight to Fly show.
Thank you. Tia, that was a big one. And I am so grateful to be here. I can't even
It's been so fun.
It is. And you, the minute I met you, and thanks to David, instant bestie. That's all I could say. And what comes with that, though, is, you go through life and a lot of things actually have you trust your gut over time. And this whole podcast that we're doing right now, this Fight to Fly, is what it's truly about. Every individual today has their own fight.
Yes.
And it changes with the seasons.
For sure.
I know from who I was when I grew up is not who I am today. I've judged myself on, how I've lived and how great I've done in grades and school. And that's all my worth. And at the end of the day, that's not anything of who I am. Those are just things that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I've made it an opportunity to look at things like, okay, we will fly.
Yeah.
Higher than a kite.
You're right, though. It's not just a one time, like this happened to me and then it propelled me to here. It's always like steps. And when I was younger, I was like, oh my gosh, it's never ending. It's like the mountain, the valley, the mountain, the valley. Mm-hmm. And it can be exhausting because you're thinking, when is that one time? Right. And it's not until you get older and you've been through a lot of mountains and valleys that you're like, oh, okay, even though I'm still having valleys, my low valleys now are the same height as my peaks 10 years ago or 20 years ago, right? Your mountain and valleys get higher and higher and higher. And so that, that's great that you say that, because a lot of people listen to podcasts and listen to people talk and their inspirational messages. And it sounds like there's one thing that happens and then you overcome, and it's not. It's constant overcoming, right?
Absolutely. And it's how you look at the mountain, right? So I remember looking at mountains and being like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to climb that mountain. And then pretty soon it comes down to you're kicking rocks. You're kicking rocks because you have walked through it. You've worked with people to walk through that. You've overcome it. And you're trusting your new self as you grow over time.
Yeah. And you've overcome quite a bit in your lifetime. I know that you have. You can share what you want to, don't share what you don't want to, but I would love to hear a little bit more of your story.
Well, going back, you never want to be who you become in a home that you wish you had something different, So for me, coming from a broken home, I always wanted to have that family, that unity, not be basically the money person in between one adult and another. So with that became a lot of addiction that I saw in my family. I was around it. split houses, not really having a place to call home. And, I promised myself I would never be like my mom when I grew up. And that's exactly what happened to me. After I couldn't win with all the perfect grades and the sports and all those things, those outside characters that defined me is not who I was. It was just, I wanted you to love me, so I'm going to do all these great things so you can love me, but you're really not going to know what's going on with me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So with that, you basically fall into the environment you're in, and that's all I knew. So from there, I had a pretty bad addiction problem that led me to places I wouldn't want for anyone.
Yeah. A lot of times those are the places, though, that you learn the lessons that get you to where you are, because now you're a very high achieving individual. And, I think it's a little cliche when people are like, well, I wouldn't change anything about my past because that's what got me to where I am now. And I kind of go back and forth, right? And I'm like, well, if I changed that, then this would happen, but also this would happen. So,
right, right. I could have gotten there faster.
Yeah.
Right.
But no matter what, it happened. There's no going back, changing it or not. And you learned some great lessons, and now you're sharing those lessons with others. And I think that's fantastic.
Well, and it also, I love that. And thank you. I mean, for me to be able to look at someone in their eyes and I can see being present. I mean, we're going off like being in my body and present and knowing what's going on with trusting my gut.
Yeah.
When I look at someone, I can see what's going on. I can look in their eyes. I can feel their heart. I want to stay in that place. And I feel like I'm just one big intervention. I don't know whether it's in business, whether it's in your life, whether it's in your family, whether it's in a relationship, it doesn't matter. I only want to be able to bring that source of light.
Yeah. What can you tell our listeners that if they're in a place that they're trying to overcome, like you have overcome so many things, if they're trying to overcome and they're trying to find their own source of light, what advice do you have for them?
The biggest advice I can say is you got to be honest with someone. If you're keeping it a secret and you're afraid that if other people find you out, you're only hurting yourself in the long run. So if you can get honest with one person that you like, love, and trust, right?
Yeah.
It changes everything. And the biggest thing that I find out from that is that I'm not unique. We all are going through our struggles, whether they're daily, whether they're hourly, whether they're yearly. Life happens.
Right.
It's going great. And then sometimes you've got a hiccup, but then it's even better, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes it gets worse in your mind. But those are the pains that are going to shift, even make it brighter.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like a lot of people are worried about what they think or what they look like or what other people are judging them to be. I really have no room for that judgment. You're going to get me as I am.
Yeah.
You're either going to like it or you're not.
Yeah.
And for me, that honesty has really changed.
Yeah. I think, you're definitely right there. Being honest with someone, first of all, it helps you to be more honest with yourself. A lot of times we can lie to ourselves a lot easier than we can lie to other people.
For real.
Right. So to find that one person, whether it's, an AA sponsor or it's a professor or it's a friend or pastor, whoever it is, to find one person that you can be honest with really helps you be honest with yourself. And I think that is a huge step in any growth, no matter what it is. So I love that you said that. Also, something about you is that, there's a lot of people who they believe their opinion is fact. Right. And it's like, you're welcome to your own opinion, but that doesn't make it a fact and something that should be my opinion as well.
Right.
And so there's a few things about you that I just absolutely adore. And that is that you do make space for everyone, including yourself. Sometimes we make more space for other people than ourselves, and it's a constant lesson.
Right.
But as far as the, you're not the only one. A lot of times we're in our head thinking like, this is tragic. This is something's wrong with me. And it took me actually I had a psychology professor and I went to college as an adult. or an older adult than most. I guess
Same.
everybody's an adult. Like, sorry, college kids.
Yeah, right.
College adults. Dang, cut
Children.
that, edit that. No. So I was a little bit older. I was in my late 20s when I went to college, and I had a professor, and she would say things, and I would be like, how does she know that that's what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. And I started realizing that those thoughts weren't just in my head. Those are normal people thoughts that are happening, right? And then as I got further on into my career, I remember this one time I made this mistake, and it felt like the biggest mistake ever, the end of the world. Mm-hmm. And I called a friend of mine. His name's JC. I'll say his name because he's watching, I'm sure. Okay. And I called him, and I was like, you won't believe what I did. I'm such an idiot. I'm probably going to lose this client, and it's a huge client. And I was just broken. I was so upset, and it was 100% my fault, which I wasn't going to, and I could not blame it on anybody else. Right. I made this mistake. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I was beating myself up, and the only person better at that job than me was someone named Tony. Mm-hmm. And so JC worked hand in hand with Tony, and he was like, what? Tony does that every week. And I was like, what? He was like, calm down. Tony does it every week. There'll be another client. You'll be fine. Like, suck it up. And I was like, I'm allowed to make mistakes?
Oh, yeah.
What? And so that's huge, right? That you find out that, hey, it's not just you. You're allowed to make mistakes. You'll get over it. You'll get through it. And you'll make another one in 5 minutes, and you'll get through that too.
For real.
So I think those are all great lessons.
Well, and I also think that if your intentions are in a good place, making a mistake is just a lesson, right? Mm-hmm. And to be really intentional with what you're doing and not really thinking right now, don't think with your mind, because your mind is going to be, right? Yeah. If you're thinking with your heart, it's kind of like the easy lesson to pass on that is, I'm going to give you a smile, right? I'm going to go out and smile at you. Am I expecting you to smile back? I just want you to be happy to be happy. That's why I'm smiling.
Yeah.
Right? It's not to get a smile back and feed me.
Yeah.
That intention is everything.
Sure.
And living my business and my life and my family life and my work life and my everything else is just, it makes it so much brighter.
For sure. And you mentioned earlier, like as a kid trying to get the best grades and be the best athlete. And I think that we take a lot of that into adulthood, mm-hmm. To where even to this day, there are people who will judge you, will judge me, will judge you, anybody else out there that have never even done what you're doing, right? And they don't give you grace to make mistakes. And they don't give you grace to learn when you're in a new place. And you have to block those people out. You have to mute those people. And you really have to give yourself grace, because if we don't give ourselves grace to make mistakes, we don't give ourselves grace to grow. And you and I have both been through a lot of growth, which we wouldn't have been through if we didn't give ourselves the grace to do that through mistakes and lessons.
Well, and I love the mistakes and lessons, because now, even in my financial world, a lot of anybody in our economy right now really thinks their worth is their credit score.
Right.
Right. And I have to share with them, I'm like, this isn't school. Your grades are not your worth, and neither is your score.
Sure.
Things happen.
Yeah.
Right. And if we can open that hoop a little wider and come from a place of a little more patience and love and tolerance, and realize everyone is fighting their own fight, right? Yeah. How can we lift them, push their wings open, and really, truly see them fly?
Yeah.
Right?
So as you talk about that, I remember I asked you a question just yesterday because my daughter is looking to buy her first house.
Right.
And I said, somebody said XYZ, and you were like, that's not true. We can do this and we can do that. Tell us more. I know we've been having a good inspirational conversation, but I want our audience to know more about how you're helping people buy houses, get into real estate, and all the stuff that goes with it, all the magic that you do. Can you give us a few tips on, one for anybody who's buying a house, like how to get the best financing? Because so much has changed, mm-hmm. especially since 2008. Mm-hmm. But it's changing every year. I hear something new, and I'm like, is that true? Is it not? TikTok? Oh my God, I have no idea what's happening. Right. So I would love for you to give us some tips, because I know that's what you're really passionate about, is helping people not only get their dream homes and relocate, but also get into investing in real estate. So go where you want with that, but tell us a little bit about that Beau knows magic.
Well, the real Beau knows.
Beau knows mortgage.
We know mortgage, we know real estate, we know finance, we know all sorts of things. But the reality is we want people to grow their wealth any way they can obtain that. And for starters, they don't even think they can get their toe wet. Anyone doesn't think they can buy a new home because they're told a lot of different things that aren't real.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And in the finance space, it changes every 3, 6, 9 months, right? Those guidelines shift. So I think it really comes down to the team that surrounds us and building up the team to support others to make sure that if your daughter wanted to buy a house tomorrow, we can make that happen. We can align her with the right programs and products nationally, wherever she wants to be. Mm-hmm. And by that time, we can also educate her on what it's like to get your toe wet in real estate, but then also convert that real estate and use the financing to grow your portfolio. And that's everything, right? Yeah. And a lot of people don't even think they can get there. They're not shown. They're not educated. They're just told, you need to put this and we'll get you a home. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Every individual is unique. Their wealth portfolio is unique. And it's really aligning with the right team backing you to make sure that they can obtain their goal. And you got to make sure you're listening.
Yeah.
Listening to what they truly need is everything. It's not what I think they need.
Sure.
Right? My job is to educate them and allow them to make the decision.
Right. Yeah, for sure. What's your next step? I know you're probably going to kick me under the table for asking you this because you do so many things, but what are you most passionate about right now?
I am super, super excited about taking all of the last 25 years in my industry in real estate and finance and venture capital and insurance and all those fun things and really putting them together to make sure that we can touch on a foundational level to allow those that need to break through, that never have a shot to do so, to allow them to get their toe wet and make sure that they can no longer be homeless.
Yeah.
Right? To get into home ownership, to break through in employment and back them with really good people.
Nice. Well, I think you're going to do that. I think you're going to reach a lot of people because I know your heart. I know your heart's in it. There's a lot of, stuff online and we get marketed to on every social channel, everything. I can't roll my eyes because I've been in marketing forever,
right.
But some of these I'm like, oh, this sounds like a great, yes, I want to know more about, this type of real estate investing or that. And they give you a little sales pitch on why you should buy their seminar. And then you buy their seminar and then they talk a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense. And you leave still having absolutely no idea how to do what they're supposed to be teaching you how to do. And then they're going to upsell you a book and a program and whatever. And I'm like, can I just have somebody just tell me ABC, do this first and let me do it first before you sell me the rest of the alphabet.
Right.
And I know your heart and I know you're logical like I am. And so I'm really excited to see where you go with that because I think there's a big need for it. I really do.
Well, I agree with you. I think talking at you and sharing real estate and finance like you know what it means is the number one problem throughout our world right now. It's like, you don't know what I'm talking about, but I expect you to know what I'm talking about because I know what I'm talking about. And that's not the case.
Yeah.
Right? But if I don't listen to what you truly need, I can't educate you the way you need to be educated and give you those tools so we can make a decision based on an emotional level because it's a really big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Really big deal.
You can have all the money to invest in it, but you have to be ready mentally too. And time wise, which is huge, priorities, all of that stuff. But my favorite one, I digress a bit, but my favorite ad that I see on social media, I'm not going to say who it is, but it's a guy and he's like, if you want to have a private jet like me, you can buy a 30-unit property and I'm going to show you how to do it with someone else's money. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Don't say it. But I'm like, and I've actually been like, out of curiosity, I'm going to see where this goes. And then it's a video that sells me for 10 minutes on why I should go to the next video. And then that one sells me on why I should go. And I have no information. I still don't know how to buy that 30-unit property.
Information should be free, right? It should be free.
Even if I'm paying for it, at least give me an actionable step that makes sense, right?
Right.
Anyway, so I'm excited to see what you break down because I'm also curious. I've learned a lot of different things about real estate investing, and it feels like they expire. And so I think everybody needs someone who's like a constant consultant, not going to teach you something now that's not going to be, you can't even use it next year or in 5 years.
Yeah, that's done.
Yeah.
Sorry, that product's over. Next.
Yeah, I think that's a big spot that's missing is you need a constant consultant. If this is something you're really going to do, you don't just learn it once and now you know it. I mean, you're learning every single day about stuff going on in your industry, and I can't do that. I don't have time. I learn my own industry.
Right.
So if I want to get into really investing in real estate and that kind of stuff, I need someone like you in my corner.
Yeah.
And that's why I love what you're doing.
Oh, and I love it too.
Yeah.
I love what I do. So as far as what you're doing with this entire company, I cannot even tell you how excited I am to see it just freaking take off.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. I'm super proud of you.
Take off. Is that an airplane pun?
It is.
I'm not sure if that's how they sound.
I don't know, me either. It's my sound.
Maybe a crop duster.
It's my own.
Yeah.
It's my own job.
Yeah.
Crop duster? I don't think so. We're just spraying them out.
Right. Okay. Well, you have so much more to share. You have a huge network. You have an amazing story. I know you're going to start sharing that more and more. Tell our listeners how they can find you.
Go to that Instagram IG handle, AKA. No, really, it's at The Real Beau Knows. The TheRealBeauknows.
I'm impressed that you can spell all those things back to back.
Right?
All right. Well, thanks for coming on today's show. You guys go out and follow her on Instagram, follow her story, especially if you're wanting to get into real estate, but also for some amazing and inspiring stories to come. So, Beau, thanks for being on our show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Fight to Fly. And don't forget to subscribe for even more motivational content and lessons from high achievers. And be sure to follow Fight to Fly on your favorite social media platforms.